Welcome to the Worth Library. My name is Elizabeth Ann Bourne and I'm the librarian of the Worth Library, and we're delighted to introduce you to Worth and his collection today. Worth was born in 1676 and he died in 1733. He was the son of a Dean of St. Patrick and a grandson of a Church of Ireland Bishop of Killaloe. And we know that he inherited land, money, and books from his family. We know that he was educated in Merton College in Oxford and he went on to study Leiden. When he came back from Leiden, he set up a practice in Dublin in Werburgh Street. And in 17, he became a member of the Dr. Stevens Hospital Trust. That was a trust that was set up to basically crowdsource fundraise for a new hospital in Dublin because there was no hospital provision in Dublin at the time. And I think as a result of being a member of the trust, he decided to leave his collection of 4,300 books to the hospital in his will in 1723. Now, what was he leaving to the hospital? Basically, in that collection, it's very strong on medicine, and we see in A, B, and C the history of medicine, all different areas of medicine. It's also very strong on the history of science because we know that he was a fellow of the Royal Society. We took that very seriously. So the Worth is very much known as a medical library, but also very strong on history of science, which is unusual in an Irish context because most other Irish libraries of the period are very strong on theology, but not much medicine and science. We're the opposite. We have very little theology, but a lot of medicine and science. He also included in his collection things like atlases, architecture, literature in English, French, Spanish, Italian, plays of poetry. He had Latin and Greek classics. He had a strong history collection, antiquarian collection, numismatics, and reference works. So from an Irish perspective, it's very much an outlier because we're so strong on medicine science and so relatively weak in theology. From an international perspective, it's unique because of the history of the collection and the state of the preservation of the collection due to his collecting habits, but also due to his decision in his will to limit access. In his will, he decided to limit access to the surgeon, the physician, and the chaplain of Dr. Stevens. And he also didn't make any provision for a librarian. So that, in effect, meant that between 1733, when after he died, and when the books came here and were put on the bookshelves, between 1733 and 1988, when the hospital closed down, very few people were accessing the collection. And that in turn means that now the collection is of unique importance for historians of the book as object, because you have a rich collector who's buying from across Western Europe. He's getting books sent over to Dublin, putting them behind glass-fronted bookcases, and then limiting access. So we have examples of bindings from Ireland, obviously, because he's getting a lot of books rebound, but Dublin, London, Amsterdam, The Hague is where he's buying from. So we have bindings from England, France, the Netherlands, Spain, Italy. He has original bindings. Our earliest binding is 1493 and our latest binding is 1733 because that's the cut-off point for the work when he dies. It's a capsule collection. But he will also have examples of 16th, 17th, early 18th century bindings. This is an example of an early 18th century Dutch binding from a merchant called Gosman Eilenbroek, whose library was sold in 1729. And we know that not just from binding itself, but also because we have the auction catalogue. Worth left us 57 sale and auction catalogues from the period 1723 to 1733. This binding we can date really quite precisely to Amsterdam between 1700 and 1710, because we know that material, the black goat material, went out of fashion in 1710. And it's a rebind. The book itself dates from 1500. It was printed in Paris in 1500 by two printers, Jean Petit and Tilman Curver, and it's an edition of Virgil. They knew it was going to sell well. They put a lot of money into the publication, and it would have had a 16th century binding on it. Gosman Eilenbroek decided to rebind it in this beautiful gold-tooled Amsterdam binding of the early 18th century, and Worth kept that binding. There was no need for it to be rebound in a Dublin binding. But a lot of the collection would have been rebound, and we have a lot of Irish bindings from the 1720s, 1730s. The library continued to be here until 1988 when the hospital closed down, and at that point the books were sent down to Trinity for safekeeping. And in the mid-1990s, a trust was set up which in effect meant that the books could come back to the original space, but that the library would be open to the general public for tours, that the library staff would do exhibitions to share the collection with as many people as possible, and that we'd also have outreach internationally by way of research fellowships for scholars to come and work on the library. So what we've been doing since the trust was set up is basically giving tours by appointment, because we do need to know when people are coming. We also do a lot of exhibitions, and they're all available off our website, which is www.edwardworthlibrary.ie. So once we do an exhibition or a blog post, anything, we put it up on our website. You'll find on the website two different types of exhibition: the small exhibitions, which are just what's in the display cases, what you'll see when you visit the Worth, and there'll be a slightly longer version online, or there'll be a blog post about a particular book. And then since 2009, we've been doing big online exhibitions on various themes, all of which are available off our website. So they tend to be on medicine or science or history of the book, and there's bound to be something in there that you'll find of interest. We also have a lecture series, and please look at our events page to see what events are coming up. We also do a lot of conferences, joint events with other entities. For example, we have a joint lecture with Trinity, we have a joint fellowship with Marshes Library, and we also have a massive open online course on the history of the book, 1450 to 1800, that you can find on the Future Learn platform.